I want to acknowledge that this live performance video and podcast interview were filmed at CASA, home for the arts in southern Alberta. CASA has been an important part of the Lethbridge artistic community for a number of years, and without it, life as both a musician and filmmaker would be much more difficult. It is imperative to have affordable venues and amenities for a thriving arts community, and we would like to thank CASA for allowing us the opportunity to utilize this space for the final episodes of the Weird in High School podcast. We were particularly happy with how these episodes turned out, both from a video and audio perspective, and it was wonderful to have a space that we could experiment in and make art. So, thank you again.
Small town in Saskatchewan, 1963. Population ebbed and flowed, never passing 90. You're the only girl so beautiful for the miles that I can see. I work hard, I've got a car. Oh, would you go with me? Oh, would you go with me? And times they came and times they went. Star-crossed lovers moved along home till the day she came crying to him. You had to ask her what on earth was wrong. I'm marrying you anyway so we can share a name. Oh, what on earth could our sweet baby change? Resourceful time bastard son from the wrong side of the tracks. Grew up hard and he grew up strong, never defined by what he lacked. Her daddy had the high seal, he reached the sky with bills he stacked. His horses all kept easily, and he had the finest tack. Oh, he had the finest tack. Times that came and times that went. Newborn in a mobile home, cutting hair and paying rent, starting a family of their own. You know I love you anyway, that's why you wear my ring. Oh, what on earth could another baby change? Went to work so faithfully, give his family what they need. Car to drive, family of 5, on a capped salary. Well, the Husky boys were making bank in the land of old Lougheed. Honey, I'll work hard, I'll get a job. Oh, would you go with me? Oh, would you go with me? Times that came and times that went. Teacher's pay couldn't make a dent. 3 mouths to feed, old John was spent. So he packed the car and westward they went. You know I love you anyway, your mother does the same. Oh, what on earth could our grandbaby change? What on earth could our grandbaby change?
Yeah, I think that I was curious if you had any regrets about how you did it, but clearly it's like was a positive experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't point to anything that should have been different about it. I mean, if I had like perfect world, infinite budget, I would probably budget in rehearsal time ahead of time.
I think that's the difference between August and everything after what you just mentioned and your record, or any record nowadays, is that, you know, their job was to just show up to the studio every day and fool around.
Yeah.
And like, I've listened to Adam Duritz talk about like a lot of the writing of that record, and it's like, you know, he has sitting at home and he has an idea for a song and he goes to the A&R guy's office and shows it to him. Then they go to the studio and it's like, you know, gets there at like in the afternoon and then they work till midnight or whatever. And it's just, they just get to fool around. And so you're spending a ton of money, you're having the time to experiment, and you're gelling as a unit. It's like, it's like that's a recipe for success. It's a beautiful thing, but that we don't have the luxury of anymore to a certain degree.
In Jeff Tweedy's biography, he talks about wanting to be like the Monkees, and like down to like basically he wanted bunk beds in the studio with his band. But I mean, that's one of the few bands that like really has a very experimental recording process anymore, and it's because they own their own studio and all live within proximity of it.
And they love it. They love the process.
Yeah.
It seems like.
And I mean, that's why you either love or hate Wilco.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're currently living in High River.
Yeah.
How's High River treating you?
It's good. I mean, everywhere is, what's the diplomatic answer to this? I think that, I don't spend enough time in Calgary anymore. When I was younger, there were some exciting things going on there, and I feel like the city constantly turning itself over and appealing to the highest dollar has made it quite a non-viable artistic community. I mean, that could be wrong. I could be out of touch, and there might be very cool things happening that I don't know about. But High River's a good little community. It's pretty sleepy, but I do sort of see the future being in these smaller centers like Lethbridge, maybe Red Deer, like of artistic goings on where people can actually, you know, afford to maybe rent a house and have a drum kit in it. Like, but yeah, no, High River's good and quiet.
If you weren't in High River, where would you be, you know, in an ideal world, for music reasons or for artistic reasons?
It's not an answer I thought I'd ever have, but after going to the Working Songwriter Summit, I feel like Chicago would be a really good answer.
Oh yeah.
It's I don't know. I have a longing for like a real city in the way of like one with history, grit, and like kind of that yields like Chicago, Montreal, those kinds of places have. I feel like just a spirit to them. Of it's hard not to be inspired, kind of by just the variety of sights and sounds and like the urban fabric, but.
Yeah, I get that too. So talk about, you went to the, for the audience, the Joe Pug and Craig Finn. What's Joe Pug's thing, right?
Yeah.
And he put on his long-running podcast, The Working Songwriter, and this is his first time doing a conference. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
or?
well, I guess it was called the Forum. I think I said the Summit before, but yeah.
The Forum. That sounds very official.
Yeah. He was in a room not dissimilar to this room, but yeah.
So you went down there this year, and and you met a bunch of other aspiring and emerging and probably successful songwriters. And tell us about that experience.
You know, I'm not sure any of them were particularly successful. They're all kind of the same boat. Like they're all people who cared about it, but like I'd say a huge cohort of them actually were like school teachers. But like there was a part where we all played a song,
And that was like the best open mic I'd ever been to. And it was kind of inspiring in the way of like, I mean, this is the antithesis to like talking the fears of what the internet can do to the world. Mm-hmm. The internet can also do this, where, I mean, maybe there was like 100 people there. And maybe those 100 people are all of the people in North America that care as much as I do. I'm being hypothetical, but about songwriting. And maybe that was the way for those people to all get together. I'm not saying that it's actually only that many people, but yeah, that was very cool. And those kinds of events are definitely worthwhile.
It's hard to put I know, for you, just made a record going out to Chicago to go to a working songwriter summit. It's like there's obviously a hefty price and time commitment to do that, and it's hard to validate sometimes what those things give you until years later. But I can look back now at certain things in my life where I met key like critical people that changed my life at a conference or a summit or a workshop or something like 10 years ago, and that started the relationship. And it took years of talking until we got to a point where it was like, hey, we should work together. And then sometimes nothing comes from that. But then every once in a while, it changes the game. So, and like you got to meet 100 people that care about songwriting. That's almost, if you went on a tour, like a tour of the U.S. at this point in your career, and we're like just shaking hands and kissing babies, I don't know if you'd meet as many people that actually care as you would in that room that day.
Yeah, and then the cost factor. I mean, it's not free, but like Chicago's a hub airport. You can get, like, I literally paid $200 for my flight. It's an expensive place to stay, like to get an Airbnb, but the event itself wasn't a very expensive ticket. The flight's not bad, so it's a lot more. It was a 3-day event, so it's like, again, if you're going to use that golf trip comparison, if I don't know, it's funny actually, the Kim Churchill hobbies song, he's talking about the little frog on Instagram with the "you don't have to be good at your hobbies." My wife brought that up the other day. Why, like, there's something so vindicating actually to that concept, which is why it was worth writing a song about. But what, like, if music is your hobby and it matters to you and it gives you a reason to, once you're done delivering Uber Eats, all you're thinking about is playing guitar, then why is that a less valuable thing for you to spend your, spare time and cash on than rec league hockey? Like, I don't know. No one's justifying to themselves their dues to play sports. Like,
yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree on that one with me, because I have a whole diatribe about anti-hockey sentiment growing up in Southern Alberta, where hockey was glorified and it was romanticized and it was like prioritized by parents. And I'm like, best case scenario, nothing's going to happen. Like, you spend all this money and time, and like there's almost a 0% chance you're going to make any money doing this. And mathematically speaking, the odds are so terrible. And then I'm like, I always think about music, and I'm like, listen, even if things don't go that well, you'll still be like making a couple $100 to play at a brewery or a pub. Yeah. So like even the worst case scenario is pretty good. Like, it's like, it's like, or you get to travel the world and meet all these friends, or like, and all these other fringe benefits of it, and like be fulfilled artistically and stuff. And I think with that, so that always has kind of irked me. And I'm always trying to be an advocate for the other benefits of songwriter music, as a, maybe not as a full career, but as something that can make a little bit of money. Or I talk with my wife often that I'll every once in a while organize maybe not a golf trip, but a hangout session with friends. And it's like such a pain to organize, and it's more expensive than you thought. And then sometimes you come home and you're like, well, I spent $400 on this weekend on hotels and this and that. And it was like not that good. But then if I go play a show, and even if it's a bad show, or not a high paying show, sorry, but I get to hang with some friends. I get to play with like meaningful people, and I make $75. Well, the delta on losing $400 and like being up $75 is still a big delta that no one talks about. And it's like, so that's something I still enjoy. It's just like the camaraderie of music. It is like, you know, it's being a band. It's better than being in a hockey team. It's like that brother of arms, and everyone gets to contribute, and it's a meaningful, important thing. Or playing with people, like going to the studio gave you that experience. Like you got to get the band back together.
Yeah, I mean, like, no matter what happens with that, I'm glad I did it. Even just for me personally, I can know if I don't, whatever, however you define succeed, but if I don't turn a career where I pay my mortgage with playing music, I know that it's not because I wasn't able to make something that was good enough. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's not me. I've been listening to the Talking Sopranos podcast, and they've been talking about how basically everyone on that show, after they wrapped the first season, turned to each other and went, well, what are you going to do next? Like, none of them thought it would get picked up for a second season. Wow. Because they had been through it before. They'd been through, and it was too ambitious and whatever. Like, David Chase said that he was thinking about moving to France to write novels. Like, and that's like the most successful television show ever. Wow. So, I mean, my point of bringing that up is like, I'm just realizing how much the entertainment economy has nothing to do with, or very little to do with, proficiency and objective creative quality. Like,
yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's like, there's been lots of different studies and information coming out in the last number of years where, you know, they talk about really like a lot of success comes from like luck and like, you know, the support of others, and did you get luck and someone advocate for you? I can really see I've friends that have a team behind them, and I have friends that are solo, and a lot of times I've compared two friends, and I've said the difference between this friend's success and this friend's not, you know, or not that they're not successful, but to that same level is simply the people that are supporting that artist. It's nothing to do with skill from my vantage point, and knowing them both and knowing their art and knowing, it's just like when you have three people working behind you, it's just that much, you know, additional people power that can push and can strategize and can like build your confidence and make you accountable and this and that. So it's like, I think that stuff does come down to these odd strategies that are hard to, like you said with the Sopranos, like they didn't know it was going to be a success. That was, and like when we look back at now, it seems so obvious that of course it was, but
I mean, it almost doesn't feel so obvious to me because it feels like such a sincere effort, and it feels like most of what rises to the top is not. Like, it feels like, I don't know, I have this thing about movies recently, like I'll ask people, what was the last movie you saw that was memorable? And I don't know, I think my answer, like, in terms of like newest movie I saw that felt like an actually like unique creation was probably like the Barbie movie. But it was Greta Gerwig. Like, it was like,
yeah, she's like 100% right now. Like every film she's made has been phenomenal. And even like the films that she was in that she wasn't directing at that time with Noah, it was like, you can tell looking back how much of an influence she still had. Like I rewatched Greenberg last year with Ben Stiller, and I know that Noah, her partner, directed it, but it feels like it has so much of her creative energy in that movie. Yeah, everything she touches so far is great, and she has like a distinct vision, and she knows what she wants, and she has an agenda, and like does it in a funny, palatable way that works for a lot of people, including me.
I feel like it's just like in the sea of things being rehashed, like we watched the Lilo and Stitch remake on a plane. I just couldn't understand why that needed to happen at all. It's not, it's not like the original one looks old. It's animated anyway. but it's not like remastering a video game. It didn't need to happen, but it's you know, I would never expected that there would be a Stephen Malcolmus joke in a movie with Mattel's branding on it. Like, but I guess my point about that though is like, it is so rewarding to actually allow chances and uniqueness. But I guess it needs to succeed for that to happen, and it's not a guaranteed success, which is why it's not. That's why you only see that mostly in like independent production of anything, of music, of film.
Yeah, and I would agree. We're in this like moment of everything is an echo of something from the past. Even like, you know, a lot of things is like an ode to the 90s right now, and recycling the 90s, and everything is a remake or everything is IP. Do you think that? And then we're moving to the world of AI. Do you feel like there's more of an opportunity to have a unique voice or to say something with you know, a slightly different variable, a creative spark?
I felt quite convinced that AI hysteria was overblown, and I was like, hey, AI won't easily make good music. And then recently, I've heard some AI country songs that are like in the formulaic country genre. Most of these are like satirical, but if the words weren't silly, I wouldn't know. And I realized, like, yeah, Nashville staff writer, that's one of the first jobs to go. Because if your job is to create consistent formulaic music, AI can do that. But it's not going to be original. Like, it's basically crowdsourcing everything. So if it won't create anything new because there's no reference point on something new. A human is going to have to come up with that. Like, it won't make the next Bon Iver, though. Yeah. So Bon Iver has to exist before you can ask it to make Bon Iver.
Yeah.
So if anything, I feel like it means that the future of... There's a really good chance the whole radio is going to turn into AI-generated formulaic country music. I mean, like...
Yeah, and I like how you phrase that. Like, on one hand, that sounds frightening, but on the other hand, you're like, well, it was formulaic to start with, so who cares? What's the difference? I think I see like all the jobs that I didn't want to have anyways, but I had to do. Like color grading, for example, with film. It's like, I don't think anyone actually wants to be a dedicated colorist. It's something we have to do, and it's something that people had an opportunity to make money from. But now that things are being outsourced, it's like my need for a studio is gone, and my need for my need to develop something that used to take many people is down to like a small team now. And maybe at one point it would just be a single person is a studio.
But it's probably not going to be creative though. It's not gonna do a unique color grade like the Florida Project. Like, it's not gonna.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, it'll help for when you need a basic color grade that looks professional. Yes, it will get you over that hump, but will it like, we were on set recently for a short film, and it was shot on 16 millimeter, and that was, it's an arduous, expensive process. As I was saying, will the stake of that very human, it's a chemical reaction, will that mean that much more in the digital age? I suspect it will, personally.
I think there's always going to be Luddites, and I'm including myself, but like, I ride horses, which are useless in a modern context. I like vehicles with manual transmissions. I like vinyl records. Like, the niche people that like to keep those things alive, like the things that aren't practical to do, but they do them because they matter to them. I feel like that will become, like, that'll remain. People who want to go see local music will still want to go see local music, and they're going to want to listen to bands that they have some kind of concept of a relationship with. And will it be most people? Probably not, but they'll continue existing.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, like, the rise of vinyl was a direct result of, like, digital commodification of music. And it's like, I see the rise of like people going to festivals to like do drugs in a field. And it's a very primitive thing.
Yeah.
But festivals are growing, and it's because I think people want that experience of like standing in a field and doing something primitive and like being a human being. So I do see that as like the opportunity and like the moment of excitement. But well, Bretton, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to flip the script on you. It's good timing with the record. We've been talking about this for a while. You've been talking to a lot of other people on this podcast, and is there anything else you want to close out on?
Don't think so.
That's always a tough question because, of course I don't. It's like we've covered it all.
Yeah, I mean, allow me to plug my call time starting. We're taking donations.
Yeah, www.brettonleejohn.com. See, you got to like him because he did not take the cheap plug, even though I dangled it right in front of him. So this is a man of integrity. Well, all the best with the new record, and we look forward to following the voyage and hearing the tunes, because I was there, and I'm a big fan of this record, and the first song sounds unusually good on Spotify.
Yeah. Shout out to Scott Franchuk.
Boom. Yeah. The man, the legend.
Sweet.
Okay, on that note. We would like to thank all the artists and facilitators to help make this podcast a reality. Please consider supporting the artists featured on this show, as well as your own artistic communities, wherever that may be. Thanks again for listening to the Weird and High School podcast, and we hope to see you down the road. It's been a pleasure to dig in, have conversations with these artists, and develop our skills as both videographers and podcast interview hosts. We love the process of combining music and film, and this is a passion project of ours. We hope that one day these live video series can stand on their own, and this podcast can continue to flourish, possibly as an audio source or a continued video podcast. Thanks again. Make money and feel no pain. If you get too low, come and see me again. Got a brick of cocaine. Got a brick of cocaine. Out in the mountains there ain't much to do. Can hustle the tourists and the loggers too. The first one's free between me and you. Know you'll come back through. They always do. $1.50 for the hour, do whatever you like. Another 80 for the blow, and we can go all night. It's not pretty, woman, I don't need to be saved. I grew up this way, so shut your mouth and behave. Keep riding that gravy train. Make money and feel no pain. And if you get too low, come and see me again. Got a brick of cocaine. Got a brick of cocaine. So I'll keep riding that gravy.